Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us yet again on another one of our sessions when we discuss and share experiences, as well as supporting one another in any way that we can. So before we start, obviously, as you all know, we are KKLT, Kevin Karara Leukemia Trust. We encourage people, we educate and encourage people to register to become stem cell donors, because as you know, there are very few people or few Black people who are registered to become stem cell donors. So that is what we do. It is an easy process. We encourage people we inform people about the process, which is very, very, very simple. You just take a swab, you fill a very short form, take a swab, and that's it to become a potential stem cell donor. And also we educate people on the process when you are called to save a life, or if you match someone and you are called to donate, there is another process, which is also not very difficult. It's very simple. It is just like giving blood. So we really encourage people and educate them to let them know that it is not as what they think. It is so easy to become a hero and to actually save a life. It is also, the reason we are also having these sessions is because during our work, we realize that it's not only about getting stem cell donors, but also we realize that people and patients and families of people undergoing blood cancers or even any other cancer, they go through a very difficult time, and especially emotionally, they find it very hard to cope. And as we all know, physical health is one of the major reasons why people get mental health. So we really need to look after our mental health. And then we thought it is good if we formed a group and get people to come, join us, share experiences, and discuss some of the issues that people go through when they are undergoing treatment and when they are being treated for cancer. For those who have not been with us, we have actually covered quite a few topics. One of the first topics we covered was the shock that people get and they go through when they get diagnosed with cancer. We also touched on families and what they also go through and how they find it difficult sometimes to deal with these issues and deal with such a very difficult message when one is given that diagnosis. So we have also continued on other sessions to talk about how to manage pain, people, what they go through. And we've also shared experiences in this forum about our own personal experiences and what have helped, how we have dealt with that. So today, we are going to talk about loneliness and isolation and how that affects our mental health or emotional well-being, and especially for those people who have cancer. So first of all, is to welcome you all again. As we discuss, I would encourage people to share their experiences, to give also examples and also share coping skills, because that is what we really, really after. I always tell people mental health, anybody can get mental health. And it is caused by so many things. And loneliness and isolation is one of major reasons that really affect people's mental well-being. So there are different reasons why people become lonely or also isolated. One big case is during pandemic. We all know that we were forced to isolate because of COVID. And really, during pandemic, so many people have been affected by that loneliness and isolation. Not only people with underlying issues, but also people, everybody and anybody got affected by the fact that we were not meeting other people. So isolation can really affect our mental well-being. and our mental health. Reason is we are social beings. We mix with other people. We need to be connected. And when you're not connected with others, you feel lonely and isolated, because we need, as human beings, we need that human connection. So when we are disconnected with others, definitely mental health starts setting in. So during pandemic, one of the things that really affected people got affected, and especially people with cancer, because remember, if it was affecting everybody, you can imagine how much it was affecting people who had serious underlying issues. So, for example, when people are undergoing cancer and they are undergoing cancer treatment, their immune system is at its lowest. That is because any protection, and especially from the white blood cells that protects us and that fights diseases, fights infections, and fights anything that wants to attack us, when that is very low, then you become very, 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 very vulnerable. So people with cancer, people with serious illnesses, they really experience a lot of isolation, because there is no way they were supposed to go expose themselves out there to COVID, because if they did, then it would prove fatal, because their immune system would be very low. So you can imagine that people with cancer, people with underlying issues, they actually suffered more isolation, more loneliness than anybody else during the pandemic. Now, I know that was during the pandemic, but even on normal situations, people with cancer, as I said, their immune system is compromised. The immune system is very low. So, and actually they always say that most people with cancer, they are not killed by cancer itself, but by the infection that actually, secondary infections that affects them during their treatment. That is when the immune system is very low. And I remember very well when my son was in hospital and he was undergoing chemotherapy, we used to be very, 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 very careful. And during that time, they would usually be put under isolation in a certain ward, in a different ward, in a different bed, so that they are not exposed to any infections, because it is during that time when they don't have any protection, when all the white blood cells have been killed by chemo, that is when any infection could easily kill them, because the body does not have the mechanism or the cells to be able to cope or deal with any foreign being like bacteria or viruses, or really any infection. So for that, and the fact that they have to isolate and they have to stay on their own, that isolation alone can actually cause and be a cause of mental health issues. So that is isolation and how it affects us, as well as more for people who are undergoing treatment and who have cancer. However, then we come to loneliness. So loneliness can be caused by so many things. For everyone, it can be caused by being single, people who have lost their wives or husbands, sometimes they're widowed or widowers. If you're unemployed, but I think today what we're talking about is the loneliness that is felt by people who have a serious physical health problem like cancer. So when people are diagnosed with cancer, they normally feel, as I said, they undergo shock. They ask themselves very many questions. They are worried about the future. They are worried what would become of them. And a few things can actually happen, because remember, one thing is mental health comes with stigma. But sometimes they are not aware that they are developing mental health, because what happens is that when you've been diagnosed with a serious illness, sometimes you start feeling lonely, and lonely in the fact that here you are, you've been diagnosed with a serious illness. What do you do next? What happens next? Sometimes they feel that you cannot share this with anyone. Nobody would understand you. Where do you start? It really can start causing you loneliness. One thing, there are two types of loneliness. You can feel lonely because you are alone and you don't have anyone to talk to. But you can also feel lonely even when there are so many people around you. And I think this is what we call, there is the loneliness that is from out there, like the isolation one is, it's a loneliness caused by isolation, is because you're not mixing with people and because of an outside reason. But there is that loneliness that comes from within. And that loneliness that comes from within, you can feel lonely when you are even surrounded by people. And I think one of the reasons that, and this is the major loneliness that is felt by people who've been diagnosed with cancer or a serious illness. And I think there are a number of factors that can cause that loneliness. One of those factors is sometimes when you've been diagnosed with such a serious illness, you can withdraw. And you withdraw from other people because you are afraid and you're fearful of yourself and what's going to happen, what you're going to do. And you just feel sad about the whole thing. So that can cause you to withdraw from people, and you don't tell people and you don't share anything with anyone. The other one is sometimes people feel sorry for themselves, that what do I do now? Who am I now? And because they have that fear, they feel sorry about themselves. And for that reason, then they don't want to share anything or to connect with other people. Again, they also withdraw. There is also other factors like people thinking about, what will people now think about me? How will they look at me now, since I have this big illness? How will people look at me? How will people view me? Sometimes when you've been diagnosed with a serious illness, again, you stop working. So you lose your identity, you lose your place in society. So you're not going to work anymore. And then you start feeling inadequate. You start feeling maybe you don't matter anymore. There are other things like people feeling like, say, if you're the breadwinner of the family, you start feeling guilt, you start feeling shame that you cannot be able to play the role that you were playing before you were diagnosed. And all these factors, the other thing is that you don't want people to know, because what would they say about you? What would they think about you? Maybe they're not going to accept you because the things you were used to do with them, you won't be able to do with them anymore. So if you are going out with people having fun, doing all sorts of activities, now you cannot be able to do those things. And feeling that you cannot be, you are not able to participate in the things that you are participating with other people can also cause that loneliness. So there is also sometimes lacking that feel of, who can I talk to? Who can I really, really trust and talk about how I'm actually feeling within myself? Somebody you can really pour your heart out, and somebody who can really understand you, what you're actually going through, and the things that you're experiencing. So all these things combined can actually make somebody who is undergoing cancer and cancer treatment, that kind of loneliness, feeling alone and very lonely. And I always tell people this is also something that I've gone through. Like when you are surrounded with so many people, they are supporting you the best way they can, but you're still feeling lonely inside. I used to feel like that because at the end of the day, when they leave, you are left with your fears within yourself. You are left with those questioning, and you feel like there is nobody who can answer your questions. You feel like there is nobody who can really understand the fears you're going through and really give you a solution. And you feel completely lonely and lost. And those things really kind of ends making you feel depressed because you're really, really very lonely. You feel like you are on your own. This thing, and remember, I was a family member. I was a carer, because not only does these things happen to the patient themselves, they also happen to the carers who are looking after their loved ones, because you are also worried about them. You are worried about what's going to happen. What are they thinking? Because not only was I not worried about myself and the fears I was going through, I was also carrying this burden of what is my son going through? What is he thinking? How much am I able to share with him about what he's feeling and what he's going through? So all these things can make you feel so lonely that you don't have anyone to share things with, that the next thing that happens, you get depressed and you're emotionally unhappy. So those are the things that maybe today we can talk about and share experiences, because we don't like talking about these things. And especially coming from BME community, I can tell you, I have seen and observed and heard about people, once they get diagnosed with cancer, they don't want to share with anyone. They don't want to tell anyone, and they want to go through the whole process on their own. And sometimes they are also very depressed at that point. And I think there is nothing wonderful like sharing what one is going through, because then you get things out of your chest. You find out that you're not the only one. And whatever you're going through is actually normal, so to speak. And it is by talking about it that you can actually feel relieved and feel encouraged. So let me stop there, because I feel like I've been talking for ages, and really welcome the panel or whoever is out there to share or to say something or to ask any questions before we go to what kind of coping skills can one use to combat loneliness. So the floor is open. I don't want to talk so much. So I can see Jane. Welcome. Do you have any comments? Anything to add to?
Thank you, Veronica. Yes, it was that was a very good introduction. Actually, it's many people don't look at loneliness as one of those causes or as a result from an illness like cancer. And as you say, it can be very lonely when you're around so many people. There's one thing, I don't remember who told me this, but your problem will always be your problem. We can only come, we cry with you, we ask you what you want, we pat you, but at the end of the day, you're the one who's going to be crying or sleeping alone and still thinking and having all these thoughts in your mind. And it's very true. You that is the one who's suffering or the one who's caring for someone, as you say, you have all these thoughts. You don't know what to do. You don't know how to help. You ask God so many questions. But I remember feeling so lonely at some point, because as you say, just like Kevin, I was segregated from the rest of the ward because I had an infection. So I can't be, my immunity is so low, as you say, but if I mix with anyone else, they might give me a cough, and this cough might turn to be something even big. So you're put aside. And when you put aside, the only people that you see are either the one person who's caring for you, and this is back then. the one person who's caring for you, or the carers and doctors, and they're not there the whole time. And if you don't have a way to entertain yourself, or you don't find peace and entertainment from you, you really suffer. I am a people person. I love being around people. I work well with people. So this moment, I actually went into depression because I didn't have that uh, source of I'll say entertainment as well. Remember, before all this happened, people used to come every day. I had a visitor. All of a sudden, that has stopped, and you don't know what to do. You don't know what you're bedridden. So I really understand where people come from when they mean I am lonely, but I am lonely with me, and I have people around me. What else do I want to say? There is another thing about loneliness as well. You can be lonely, as you say, because you're not interacting with other people, simply because you chose not to interact with people even before cancer. So if you're one of those people that keep to themselves and do well for yourself, but then when you get cancer, you start looking for people at that point, then people will be saying, hey, you don't go to places, you don't do this, but now it's you have a problem, you're calling people and you want people to be on your side. That also can cause a bit of lack of integration with others. Yes, I think I'll stop there for now as I collect my thoughts again.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Jen. Thank you, Jen. Yeah. Yeah, you're very right. As I said, loneliness can affect anyone and everyone. But of course, what people who are at risk of suffering loneliness, as I said, are people who have a long-term health condition and conditions, as we say, like cancer or disability. Those people and also their carers can also are at risk of suffering loneliness just due to what comes along with these conditions. So, and as you say, I can imagine what you say, being segregated, nobody coming to see you, very limited number of people coming to see you, and you're in hospital. It can really, really, I'm not surprised that you are feeling depressed. It is depressing when you're lonely. And as I said, the most as I said, there are two depression that can be caused by loneliness. That is when you when you're isolated and people cannot come to see you, but also that loneliness that comes from within, even when there are people and you are feeling that nobody is able to help you, you are completely alone and lonely. So that is the worst of them all, because then it is not the people are there, but here it is you who is feeling within yourself that you can't trust anyone. Nobody will understand. Nobody knows what I'm going through. I don't want to share this with anyone. And then, or some other things, whatever it is, because we are all different. And that loneliness is the one that really can bring that depression and that emotional turmoil that can really, really affect you even more. So remember, you have a physical health problem, and when now this is added to the mix, then it makes even healing from that cancer very difficult. And also, this loneliness can affect your carer or a family member who is looking after you, because they are going through these things on their own. They, even when they meet with their friends, even when they go out and they're even trying to do things inside of them, they still feel lonely and they cannot share what they're going through with others, and they keep it to themselves. That can also be very dangerous. So thank you so much for sharing with us. Is there anyone who would want to share with us about their experience or what they understand with loneliness, or even ask questions? Yes, Julie.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
So I've never been through a sickness myself like that, but I think you can experience loneliness when you are the person supporting someone going through the loneliness. Like, for example, when Kevin was ill, none of my group of friends had ever been through that. They didn't have any family or friends that were going through that. So as much as you're saying, I'm sad that my friend is ill, it doesn't really emotionally register with them, because I think it's something you said at a speech years ago at Kevin's, one of Kevin's memorial events that we were having. You said pain is personal, and I still always remember that part of your speech. And it's very true. When you're supporting someone that's ill, it can still be lonely, because if no one else around you is going through it, they don't really, it's just like, oh, how's your friend? But no one really registers in their mind what is happening and what you're feeling. It's like death. If you're not emotionally connected to the person that's died, you don't feel what that person is feeling. So yeah, that's the time I experience a lot of loneliness, when no one around you is going through the same thing.
Thank you. Thank you, Judy, for sharing. You are very right. You're very right. Pain is very personal, and any journey, going through any of these journeys, even our life journeys, it's always a personal thing. And whatever we are going through, if you're unable to share with anyone, if you feel you are in that place where you're just so lonely and you're unable to share, and having like a shoulder to cry on, having somebody that you feel can really, really understand you, is really a very lonely place. And that, as I said, causes depression and a lot of unhappiness and emotional turmoil. But people sometimes they don't know how to get out of this. They don't know what to do. And that's why we're here, we talk, so that we can share, and we can share coping skills and what is helpful, what can be helpful. So, but before we get to that, the floor is still open. Please let us share or ask questions, because even through asking questions, we learn a lot. We learn a lot.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, it's Irene here. Thank you for everyone who has contributed. I resonate with it a lot, and I see like why people get lonely, whether you're a carer or you're the one with the condition. I just wanted to add, as people from BME, we don't know how to respond to someone who is sharing like an experience like this. So we tend not to know what to answer, so you don't feel like it's a safe place. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, if, like the other lady was saying, if you haven't experienced it, it's very difficult to know what to say. And also our beliefs, our Christian belief, or just being from ethnic minority, we don't know how to respond. I've had things like, oh, maybe you've sinned, that's why your son is unwell, you need to repent or to ask God for forgiveness. Such things knock you down so much until you close yourself in and you don't say anything to anyone anymore. And maybe they mean well, but that's just not the right response. And sometimes it's better to keep quiet than to say something that, you know, you're causing more damage. So we need a safe place. Like now here, we can all talk openly, and like you have an understanding, and, you know, you have the empathy. I think people lack empathy. Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much, Irene, for that. You have really, really touched on a very, very important, very, very important part, especially of our BME community. I resonate very, very, very well with you. I remember, I like giving examples, especially also of my experience. I remember people coming to me and saying some of the weirdest things that you have ever thought. Questions like, have you have you checked back home whether there is anything that could be causing this? Is it is it genetic? Have you, so many funny, I wouldn't say they are funny anyway, but some questions which, as you say,
Have you paid the
really-
dowry? Have they asked you, has there been anything? Is there any ancestor that is angry with you? Have you
Yes.
paid the dowry?
Can you imagine?
That's quite a common one, actually, of the whole dowry. Oh, did your
Yes.
parents, like viewers? Oh, did your parents finish dowry?
Uh-huh.
Oh, did your grandmother? It was really. Did your grandmother bless you?
Yeah.
Yes.
And but there's a lady who came.
Mhm.
And she came and said to my mom, I've only come so that I can see how cancer patients look like. And yeah, my mom has never forgotten.
Mhm.
And who is God? I'm not saying God is paid, but a few years later, her husband got prostate cancer.
Mhm.
And, we used to ask ourselves, imagine she came specifically to see how cancer patients look like.
Did she actually say that?
Yes, she
Oh.
did. Because I
Mm.
remember hearing it in passing, but it was very vague.
Yeah.
So later on, I asked Mom, what did Mama so-and-so say? And then she told me. I thought, oh my God, how can you say that? And then it was one of the days that I was actually down. I was in pain. So I'm thinking, oh gosh, why would you say that?
Very insensitive, isn't it?
Very. And
It's better not to say anything. Think of
Exactly.
make matters worse. She's a nurse. Oh,
what?
she's retiring. Imagine. It was so hurtful. Oh my God. It was very insensitive. Even when I lost my eyes, it was the same lady. I was walking in town with someone else and she said, oh, I ignored her. So she called my mom to tell her that Jane ignored me in town. My mom said, do you not know that Jane lost her sight? And she said, she could have stopped and said hello. I thought, what? I didn't see you.
Yeah.
So you that saw me, why didn't you say hello?
Yeah.
Oh gosh. There's some people that are very insensitive. As Irene said, maybe people don't know how to respond to these things. But there's a way. There are some things even you need to tell yourself first before you tell someone else. Because you can't just say, if someone's going through grief or is going through an illness like this, coming and sitting down with them, how was your day? And telling them about your day, that actually distracts them from that, those sort of thoughts. So you don't have to necessarily say, oh, sorry for your illness. Sorry that you're in so much pain. Maybe they don't even want to talk about the pain today.
Yeah.
Just it's very true. We can be quite insensitive. Oh, how are you? How is someone just comes, oh, how is the headache today? Oh, you've been having headaches for 5 days. Have they said anything? There's that thing of, have they said anything? What are you going to do, whether they said or not? I mean, it's a tricky one. I'm going to direct this to Irene. It's a tricky one. I guess, as you say, getting a safe space for us to say the right things. I don't think there's actually a right thing. It's a matter of being cautious of what we are saying, and saying it, our tone, and maybe not asking, because the other thing is asking. If I come to you and say, Julie, how you feel? Is it okay if I ask you how the treatment is going? Or because some people will say, you know what, I don't want to talk about this today. How about we speak about heat wave today? Let's talk about something else. And maybe another day I'll pick up my call and I'll call you. By the way, Veronica, the other day I was feeling ABCD. Or, you ask indirectly, because people that are going through this illness, not that they don't want to talk about it, but there are aspects of it maybe they don't want to talk about. They probably have drawn blood every day this week. I don't want to talk about that.
Mhm.
Ask me something else. How many meals have you had today? Would you like githeri tomorrow? Things
Yeah,
like
anything,
that.
anything,
Mhm,
anything
mhm.
but, anything but.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
I hear
But
you.
my main question is ask. And I always say, ask the other person, how are you feeling today? Do you want to talk about this? Or what would you like? You ask them, what would you like to talk about today? Indirectly. No? But
You're
yes.
very, oh, what you guys are saying is true, and our culture and our beliefs sometimes really, I think they really don't help us in terms of the way we think and how we approach things. So, and I agree with you, Irene. Sometimes they probably don't mean that bad. It's just that they don't know how. It's just that they're not aware. It's just that they're quite ignorant. So, and I think the best thing, and this is what we have been talking about, because the reason people probably withdraw, the reason people feel more lonelier than any other time is just for that reason. You're afraid of people asking you those insensitive questions. You are afraid of people, what they're gonna conclude and the way they're going to respond. And even touching on religion is one of those things. And I know it is okay when people tell you, oh, we're gonna pray for you, I'm going to pray for you. It is good and it is okay. But sometimes there are times we need things more than just prayers. We need, as I said, you need that somebody you can trust, who really understands you, who can you really talk to, and a safe place to really speak out what you're feeling about. So, and we're going to talk about the best way to support somebody, as Jane is saying. But before we get there, Julie, I can see your hand is raised. You want to share something? Hi, Julie, you're mute.
Oh, hi. Sorry, no, I was just agreeing with what is it Irene that just spoke, or was it Jane?
Yeah, but Irene is the one who raised the issue of the way our people respond, the BME people, and Jane talked about the personal experience she had.
Yeah, I completely agree with what they said. Especially, like, for example, there's a family friend that's lost her daughter in a tragic car crash, Mama Mary. And I've been in touch with her sister lately. And today I was going to text her because tomorrow is when they're going to view the body. And I was texting the sister and I just thought, let me just call her and just ask her how she is. How is she? I think I've noticed, especially with the young people, with what's happening with this situation, people are no one is asking the siblings just directly, how are they feeling about their sister's death? It's like, it's a lot of God, God's will be done, or God has a plan. And as much as we all believe in God and we understand that in this moment when you're grieving, sometimes it's not what you want to hear. You don't want to hear a gospel song.
Yeah.
You don't want to hear it is well with my soul. You just want someone to ask you, just directly about what you're going through and how you're feeling. So yeah, I agree with what the two ladies just said.
You're very right. Yeah, just ask and ask sensitively. And not only asking sensitively, you're very right, Julian, especially for young people, not only asking sensitively, it is also learning how to assess the situation. Sometimes you can look at somebody just like that, and that tells you everything, whether this is the right time to ask or what should I do at this particular moment in time. So, because sometimes if you find someone in pain, you don't go asking them, how are you feeling? Sometimes I always say, even sitting with someone, being there, not saying anything, just being there and holding somebody's hand or putting a hand on their shoulder, that body language will really communicate a lot to the person that you care and you're there and you're not asking too much of them. You're just there for them. And sometimes we want to say something. We feel like we want to say something. We always sometimes feel like we want to do something, but sometimes it's not like that. You don't have to. Sometimes it just requires your presence, just being there, just saying in so many words, not by words, in so few, with just your body language that, you know what, I am here, I'm for you, and I'm available. That's all. So, and I think that is where we fail in terms of, as I said, in our community, sometimes our approach is we do it as a group and we forget about the person, like what you're saying, Julie. We forget about getting to that person and what are they actually feeling, because I know I have been there. People are, you've got full house full of people singing and praising and praying and all that, but inside of yourself you're crumbling. You are asking, who is here who can actually hold me? Because right now, even with this presence of people, I feel like crumbling. And I always tell people, for me, I used to feel like I had broken glasses inside of me. And I always felt like if I walked fast, these glasses are just going to tear me apart. So I would even sometimes walk slowly, but you don't know how to express that feeling to anyone. You don't know who to, and even if you do, how will they understand how I'm going through? How will they understand what I'm feeling? So you keep quiet and you keep to yourself. And those are the things that makes you feel quite very, very, very lonely and very depressed, because you are feeling there is no one to share. There is no one who can really, really and truly understand you. And I think that is why, as Irene said, having a safe space, a safe place, talking to people who can understand you, who have probably gone through the same thing, that you can be able to really share those feelings and those thoughts. Because remember, it's not only about how you're feeling. Anybody would agree with me here who have gone through that there are these thoughts that come that can really be very scary when you're going through something like this. And those thoughts, when they come, they really get you crushed up. And the last thing you want to do at that point is to talk to anyone or go anywhere or even do anything. And it is at that point that if you have somebody who understands you, they can really just be there and encourage you, not in words, but in just being there. And you can feel, you know what, I'm not alone. So I think with our BME people, we need to probably improve in the way we approach these things and the way we approach these issues. Because I think the way we approach also makes people isolate and withdraw. And no wonder we do. No wonder a lot of many BME people, when they have a serious illness, they withdraw, they isolate. They don't want to share. They don't want to talk, because for the same reason that the way we approach things is sometimes can really put people off and make people isolate within themselves. So guys, that is so important. Let's, anybody else who can add to what we've been discussing? I can see we've got Joseph. Welcome, Joseph. Joseph, are you there? So, yeah, anything to add to that?
Yeah, Joseph is here. Joseph is the same Jonah that you have been hearing from Jane, Jane's father.
Okay. Welcome for joining us. Welcome for joining us.
I don't know.
Yeah, welcome. Nice to have you on the panel.
Thank you very much.
Yes. So, yeah, we've been talking about loneliness and how it affects not only people who are undergoing treatment or cancer, but also the carers of people who are helping them. And we've been looking at what makes us feel lonely. when these things happens. Do you have anything to add?
Let me listen how you conduct your everything today. Next time I'll talk.
Okay, thank you. And thank you so much for joining us. Thank you.
You are welcome.
Yeah. Irene, do you have anything to add to your views? Because I think they were very powerful and very I think those are the things we need to focus on, because I think our people are not aware of how they approach these issues.
Thank you. No, I don't have anything to. I think we've touched everything, all of us. Thank you.
Anna, do you have anything to add?
I don't have anything to add. I think everybody said everything. It was quite interesting to hear. Yeah. Jane, are you there? Anything to add?
No, nothing to add for now. We've said it all.
I think that was quite a powerful point about our approach and what can contribute to people feeling more lonelier than normal when they are undergoing a difficult time. But let us look at and talk about what helps, what can really help. What do you guys think can really help to really kind of manage that loneliness? Because besides, when all things are said and when all those things are valid, then the idea here is, do we continue feeling lonely, or do we challenge that loneliness and find ways of coping and dealing with it in our own way, so that we can be able to manage the journey? Because remember, that loneliness, when it turns to depression, when you are depressed and you are undergoing treatment, as I said, it adds, it does, when you're depressed and you are having a serious physical illness, it makes healing quite difficult. So it is always very good to be in a good mental state, in a good mental place, so that you can allow the body to heal. Remember, the body is undergoing a lot of bashing, the treatment, the medication, the cancer cells and all that. So when all that is happening within the body would like or would need to be in a good place where it can be able to have time to heal. But when we're struggling with loneliness and depression and that emotional turmoil, then it really makes healing quite hard, because you're finding it hard to relax and to give the body. Remember, there is a connection between the body, the mind, and the soul. So if your mind is not at ease, if your mind is not relaxed, if your emotions are all over the place, then it really makes it very hard for the body to heal. And that is why we are always told that if you have a good attitude, a positive attitude, it makes the body heals quicker, because you are not stressing the other system. You are quite relaxed. So, and that positive attitude is very helpful. So for us to gain that positive attitude, how can we manage our loneliness? So one of the things is, Irene said, it's having a safe space like this one, where you can come and talk to people who can understand you, who have gone through the same thing or who are undergoing the same thing, and you can feel free to really talk about the things that are kind of stressing you and how you feel about stuff. So that is one thing. The other thing is, when you are alone, as I said, you can be alone but not lonely, but you can be alone and lonely. So it is really when you're alone, trying to find activities that can give you joy. And especially, I know when you're undergoing treatment, sometimes people have fatigue, lack of energy, lack of interest. And it is really being self-aware about where are you in every moment in terms of how you're feeling in your body and in your mind, and actually being able to do what you are able to do and doing that thing that you enjoy. It could be doing puzzles. It could be watching a good program like Discovery programs. It could be listening to programs that you like. Like now, there are so many things in YouTube that people can listen that can keep their minds off stuff, and things that can also be helpful. So it's really looking at what is it that you like doing, what is it that gives you joy, that you can really put your mind into, rather than keeping your mind in a place whereby you are just worried and stressed about things that you cannot be able to do anything about. Because remember, when we have a serious illness, we are worried about things we cannot be able to change. But if we can be able to focus on things that we are able to change, like being in the present moment every day. In the present moment means that you are not worried about the future, neither are you worried about the past, but you are focused on right here and right now. What is it that I'm able to do right now? What can I be able to do that gives me joy right now? Just being in the moment rather than being stressed out about tomorrow or being stressed about yesterday. And I think being in that state, it can create a very good attitude whereby you're giving your body to relax. If you're not able to take a walk, you're feeling fatigued, you're able to say, you know what, I cannot be able to take a walk. So what else can I do instead? Rather than worrying that you cannot be able to take a walk, can you do something else that is easier, that is manageable? So it's really knowing yourself and what you're able to do, and really trying to get that joy for yourself. Talking to people who can understand you, if you have any, it's also good. Getting people to probably help you with some physical problems, like say, I remember when I was going through a difficult time, when people would probably cook for me, do the shopping, and they would remove all that extra stress, and they'll leave me to deal with what I would need to deal with. So it's very, very important to try and get that. I always tell people also, it is not bad to, if you cannot find anyone to talk to, people you can trust, you can always get a counselor. And I tell people who are undergoing cancer, Macmillan, they're very good. You can refer yourself, or you can ask your doctor or your nurse or whoever to refer you to Macmillan, and they normally give people, say, somebody that you can talk to. And remember, when you have a professional, they are bound by their professional conduct of being confidential. So you can really pour your heart to them about your worries, your concerns, what you're going through. And remember, we always say a problem shared is a problem halved. Talking helps. Talking to someone helps. So don't be shy of talking. Don't be afraid of talking. It is good to share those things rather than keep everything boiling in, because the more they are boiling in and piling up, the more stressed you are. And the more, as I said, you are putting your body on pressure, and then treatment becomes very hard to achieve any healing. I'm just looking at what else that people can do. So nowadays, within the internet, there are people who have formed different types of groups, specific groups even. So sometimes I can encourage people to find those specific groups. So there are groups like carers group for people with certain cancer. There are people or patients of with different cancer, where they form groups and they talk about their problems, their treatments, and they share and encourage one another. So but always make sure you're not getting into a group where negativity is shared. You want to be in a group that is quite positive, quite encouraging, so that you can feel you're not alone and also you're doing the right thing. So I'm also, it's also good to look for a place where you have a sense of belonging. So, and however that looks like, it is so personal, because as I said, we are all different. So you can always look at people who you feel that you belong to, and you can be able to share your feelings with. And again, it comes to finding that safe space where people can actually talk about things. So, and I think the other things is about friends and families who also understand. I always say, there is a saying I use when I'm helping people is help me to help you. Because if I don't know what is bothering you, if I don't know what is your problem, it will be very, very difficult for me to be able to help you. So even families and friends, unless you tell them yourself how you want to be helped, what is helpful to you and what is unhelpful to you, then they might not be able to know. So they might keep on doing the same wrong things over and over again. But if you're not telling them, they will keep on doing it. So it is good to help your family to help you. Tell them what you like, what you don't like, things that are helpful and things are not helpful. Even with friends, like Judy was saying, if they ask those silly questions we have been saying, I think at this point, I'm thinking, knowing what I know now, I think it's good to advise people to be able to tell people, you know what, the question you have asked me is not really helpful. I wish you could ask me a helpful question that would really, really be able to help me with how I'm feeling. That question you've just asked me is not helpful. I'm sorry. And because we said sometimes they don't do these things, is because they don't know how to help. And they think by asking you those questions, they are helping. So it is always good to let them know that is unhelpful and actually being able to tell them what is helpful. Does that make sense?
Yes, you're right. That's a good one, really.
I think we should be able to encourage people when somebody asks you an insensitive questions, instead of being left feeling very bad, it's good to really tell them, look, that question you've just asked me there is not very helpful, and especially given what I'm feeling right now. I would prefer A, B, C, D. So I think that would be quite helpful. So it's good to also, going forward, if you are looking after somebody or if you're somebody who is struggling with these things, let us be able to make our families and friends help them to help you, help them to help us by telling them what you don't like and what you like, what is helpful, what you don't like eating, the kind of food you don't want to eat, the kind of things that really, that are not helpful. I think that would be that is for you to be able, because you have to take ownership of your own healing. And you can take ownership of your own healing by all the things you do or you don't do. So by speaking out and telling people what is unhelpful is also a good way of taking control of, you know what, that is unhelpful. You know what, I don't like the way you do things. I don't like the food you cooked. That food is not helpful. Nowadays when I eat A, B, C, D, I feel very sick. I don't like it. Maybe this is what I like. So those are the kind of things you help your family and friends to help you with it. Yeah, can somebody add some other things through experience, what they found helpful and unhelpful?
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head when it comes to telling people what's helpful or not helpful. Last year, December, I went with King to Mombasa, for a family Christmas. and they were really trying to help me. Like we would go out every day, go to the beach, you know, but I was tired. I was still King's carer. I was doing the day and the night, because I didn't go with Lisa. And I came back very like sulking to them. Like I expected them to help me with King. So one day I opened up like just a month ago and said, oh, I wish somebody said today I can help you maybe shower King, or today I can help you stay with King, like go and sleep, I'll look after King. And they were like, oh my God, sis, why didn't you tell us? They really felt bad, but they were so glad, like I told them what I really needed help with. So it's good to tell them. Sometimes they have no clue, no idea. Yeah.
Wow.
Thank you.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. It is very true. Sometimes we are our own enemies because we are not saying it. We are not saying it. And that's a very classic example of what people do. Thank you. Thank you so much, Eileen, for sharing that. Julie?
Oh, hi. Yeah, just what Irene said, like that's something I've learned from today, because I'm a very introvert. Like I don't know how to emotionally tell people when I need something. And yeah, I had a similar experience to when I experienced someone that was going through illness, especially my mom. Last year, my mom was badly attacked by a mentally ill person, and she went through a bit of an illness there, physically and mentally. And I remember I didn't know how to tell my friends that I wasn't okay. This was really affecting me. You can't expect the people close to you to just know. So I'll take that on board next time.
Yeah. It's a very powerful thing, because I think we forget that sometimes we even expect people to read our mind. Like you could probably be walking around in the house in a huff, very angry that nobody is helping you, like what Eileen is saying, and because you're expecting everybody to know what you want and what you need, but they don't know. They really don't know. But immediately you tell them, then they say, oh, now, okay, we'll be helping. Sometimes you talk, and even you find people are even making a rota. You know what Eileen said? Okay, we're going to be doing this. So I'm going to be helping this morning, and the other one going to be helping in the afternoon, the other one. And then you find things have become easier. But sometimes, as Eileen said, we go along. We just expect people to know what we are feeling and what we are going through. And we are not sharing. So it's good to share. It's good to tell people so that they can be able to help you. So help me, help you is a very good motto going forward in terms of whatever we are going. And that is also within, even in normal situations. Sometimes even in families, members of families expect another member of family to know what you need and what you want and what you're thinking, what you're going through. But they don't know unless you share with them and tell them. And at that point, they can be able to help you. So it is really good to be able to call it out. So, and I know sometimes when somebody's quite unwell, they could lack the energy just, and have just that, apathy in terms of, oh, I couldn't care less, But if it is affecting you, whatever people are doing and saying, I think it is good to talk to them so that you can get that peace of mind. Because remember, we are talking about being in a place where you are aiding healing, and you're also helping yourself, whether you're a carer, to have that peace of mind, getting out of exhaustion, being in a good place so that you can be able to help your loved one, or if you're the one who is undergoing it, to heal quickly. So I think that is quite important. I think that is there anybody who has something else to add? I feel like everybody has gone quiet, so it looks like probably we have covered that. So that is, so for us, just to wind up, because I think it's 5 minutes to our time, that is loneliness. To avoid loneliness, as we have seen, there are things that we can do to cope. Talk to someone, help people to help you, get yourself involved in things that you love doing, but go out there, do whatever you need to get connected with people, and not only getting connected with people physically, but also getting connected with people emotionally, whereby you can be able to share things with them. And that, whether it is through a counselor or through actually talking to somebody or being in a group where you can feel a sense of belonging, and where you can talk without feeling judged, without being questioned, I think that is the best way. But the most important thing is that self-awareness in terms of, I'm feeling lonely, what do I need to do? What do I need to do before it gets to a level where I get depressed? What do I need to do before it escalates to something that will make things worse? So that self-awareness is very important, and doing those steps, those things that you need to do so that you can be able to manage your illness, and also, if you're a family member, to be able to support your loved one. So let us be mindful of also our thoughts, those thoughts that we are thinking, those thoughts that that could be negative. It's also to be aware of them and being able to, as I said, being sharing with them with other people, so that you're not left with those negative thoughts and putting you down and making you feel like life is not worth living. I can't do this. It's too hard for me. What is the point? Because that's where people get, and I don't think that is a good place to get, because that's where loneliness and depression gets to you. So let us note those things, being mindful of avoiding getting to that place of loneliness and doing the best thing we can. And nowadays with the social media, we can use it powerfully or positively by accessing those services that suit us and helps us. So I think with that, we'll come to an end of our session today. I want to say thank you to everyone who attended today. So we hope to see you next week, and we'll talk more about emotional well-being next week. So I want to thank Joseph, who joined us today. Thank you so much, Joseph. So we hope we see you next Thursday. And if there's anything you could say, you are welcome to say, but thank you, everyone. And I hope we have another wonderful session on next Thursday.